This is more for entertainment than actual good advice. Hello, my name is Ella Jean, your local fantasy author, and this time last year, I actually started this channel. I started in January, even though I would only post a handful of videos before stopping and starting again in May. And one of the first videos on my channel was a recap of all the books I read in 2024. So I thought if I was going to, make the list again, I may as well cover the list again. I actually read fewer books this year, but I think they were better books. I'm going to be very honest with you. If you are coming to this video expecting thought out, deep recommendations, you're probably not going to get that. I will let you know that of my 22 books I read, 9 of them got under 10 out of 10. Look, I just like liking good books. I am not some person who tries to torture myself with reading books I'm not going to like. I very rarely pick up books that I'm not going to like. And while I didn't DNF any books this year, all except for one, I did some decent research on before reading them to, make sure I would enjoy them. So sue me. Most of these books are basically 10 out of 10 because they are not perfect books, but they filled the need to read, this innate desire in myself to consume and understand and learn something. But since I'm sure you are curious, we should probably get into those bottom 9 to start us off. I think I'm going to start at the top and work my way down, just because I think that the bottom of the list is much more interesting, and the top of the list is much more interesting. The messy middle is, like in any first draft of a book, just kind of there. The book I will not really spend a lot of time on, that got a total of a 9.8, just missed out a little bit of the perfection and exactly what I need in a book, is The Shoestring Theory. I picked up quite a few books in Book People that were queer and really inspired me to read them. And this described itself as a romance and time travel, and I thought it'd be really fun. And for the most part, it was. Hello, I am Ace Arrow. I don't do romance. Probably gonna use that sad horn sound here. To me, the second you have a book where part of these stakes are based off of the romantic partner's decisions, either decisions to break up, decisions to come together, decisions to love each other. We're meant to be kept apart, but we know what we want in the heart. That sort of bullshit. You've lost me. I knew going into Shoestring Theory, it did not hide the fact that it was a romance. I was kind of really hoping for us to fully accept that, like, oh, his first romance went bad. His first romance, it's a gay couple who basically, the court magician bound himself to the prince that he was in love with. The prince became king, and in becoming king, he kind of went crazy and killed a whole bunch of people and invaded a whole bunch of people and all of that. So he tries to go back in time to fix it, but by binding himself to the prince with, like, their wedding bands in their wedding ceremony, the prince comes back as well. Prince tries to kill him, all of this drama. I was really hoping we just except that the prince was evil. That this would be getting over an abusive relationship, and it ended up, spoiler talk, it ended up with this really weird, the prince got controlled by the person that our main character started flirting with in order to steal magicians or something, and I like that the excuse wasn't just, oh, he's magically not a dick now. Like, there was a reason he was a dick. He is a good person under it. That's just isn't the type of book for me. So it got a 9.8. I mean, this is not a bad book by any means. It's rather fun. The cat doesn't die. Kind of. One lower than this is there's 2 books on this list that are gonna seem out of left fucking field, and it is because I was taking a death in fiction class last semester, and this caught 2 of them on the list because, hey, I read the books and they're fiction books, so I'm gonna put them on the damn list. This is London Fields. It's a 1989 novel that you never quite know what's about to happen. I was expecting to hate it because it's like noir murder mystery, except for you know who's going to be murdered because she tells you she wants to be murdered, and she may be able to see the future. But we're also set in London with just a whole bunch of shitty characters.
What the fuck?
Gotta say, the chaos of it was surprisingly fun. You just kind of, at the start, accept that you're not gonna like any of the characters, and as a result, watching Nicholas Six, I think is her name, manipulate a whole bunch of men to murder her was fun. There's a looming apocalypse in the background, but honestly, it was hitting the end of the semester when I finished it, so I can't quite remember how it ends. It is an interesting ride, but I'm not going to be recommending it to anyone anytime soon, if that makes any sense. Sitting at the lovely place between 8 and 7.5, I just simply called it Too Many Twists, is A Tempest of Tea. I made a whole other video about this in a rant because of how YA it felt. Not a lot happened up until the last 100 pages, and a lot of it was based in romance, but like, we knew the guy was gonna betray her, but she wanted to believe. It'll sit there. I will link the video below if you really want to see my whole rant on it, because trust me, I can talk about anything. In 7.5 is a local book that I got at a book fair. It's called All Them Mystics. It is lovingly self-published. It is a first-time author who could have probably streamlined the story. The story was very short. It was only about 200 and some pages, but so much managed to happen in those 200 and some pages, it felt like we never got a time to develop characters as much as it was just streaming towards a magical ending. Most of it's a blur now. It's not one that has stuck around in my mind very much. I support local artists. The 5 worst. Starting out strong with Caraval. I hate the back of YA books. I hate the back of YA books. I hate the back of YA books. You read the description, and I bought this when I was very, very young and just kind of waited to get to it because it's a big series. You read the description of this, and it looked like just a fantastical series of, oh my god, she's ending up in trying to save her and her sister from a mystical man who runs a caraval at night, and she's the sister's the prize, so the big sister has to come in and save her, and it's all a trick and a ruse, and it's actually a really fun idea. Bogged down by so much romance. The main character just falls in love with a guy who's kind of an asshole sometimes, but like just in a charming way. And he gets killed for her, but then it's not killed because of the rules of Caraval. None of the like performers can die, and he was just a performer. It was a lot. I get suckered in to these books because when you read the front cover, it doesn't really outright say this is a high romance book, where part of the romance will determine the stakes of the ending. I am fine with romance. I am fine with romance that is complicated. I am fine with subplots being taken up by 2 characters getting together, hate the miscommunication trope, but getting together and having difficulty managing said relationship. I am fine with them having a moment in the climax where they reinsure their love for each other. But the second their relationship starts impacting the stakes because, oh, but he would never kill me. Oh, but I am dooming the world for the love of him. Basically, I don't get all the big feelings with that because I don't feel romance, so all I get to look at is 2 people behaving very stupidly. being careful because my parents are asleep and it's 2 in the morning. But yeah, Caraval got a 6.8. I'll just stick this one in real fast. This is the other death book I read in my class. It's called For a Fig for All the Devils. I should have really known walking into a death class that there would be topics of suicide. I did not consider that there would be topics of suicide, and there are certain things about suicide that I personally find triggering, especially when paired with, like, fantastical worlds, but, like, the main character doesn't know if they're truly fantastical and thinks he may be hallucinating. All that is triggering. I didn't actually finish the book. I read a summary, because I don't want to read triggers. But I got a 6. I'm sure it's lovely for other people. It is about overcoming grief through someone becoming the new death. Every 1,000 years, there needs to be a new death. And it has a really neat concept. They choose a kid who's been going through it with, like, a mom and a stepdad. And he's trying to lose all his emotions, but that's not exactly something easy. Seems really good. Had personal beef with it. Time for the bottom 3. I feel like this is the only controversial one on this list. 6 Crimson Cranes. I know it's super popular. And part of it is because I probably read it right after Mistborn. We'll get back to Mistborn. I read it right after Mistborn, and it is... Look, what I get into is characters and world building. I understand there are books where world building takes second fiddle in order to tell the physical plot and story. I've written books where world building takes second fiddle in order to tell the plot of the story. It just isn't for me. This is a retelling of a fairy tale that escapes my name right now, retold in a Asian perspective. It has like dragons and a stepmother who seems to have cursed her stepchildren, but is it really for good or bad reasons? To me, so much of the world building and magic clearly served the purpose of the plot instead of having an in-depth feeling of a world. That's not the type of story I like to read. That may be the type of story for you. Outside of that, it was good. It probably is sitting at a 5 because I read it right after Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which does something to you. So yeah, please don't kill me in the comments. The second to worst book I read, and I kind of feel bad for putting it on the list. You see, last year, I felt so anxious about the idea of railing on self-published and, like, Kindle books that I didn't name my actual bottom books because they were a whole bunch of self-published and Kindle books that I got for free or next to free. But this book I spent like $12 on. And I fully respect that this is a queer story, it is a trans story, and that is not something I fully experience. It is called The Sapling Cage. It is published by this feminist press, so I'm not sure if anyone would have read it, and it is written badly. The whole idea is that witches come and, like, claim kids that have been made deals with the family and all that, and witches are being run off the land, but at the same time they're being hunted by one order, but they're being accepted in a village because they're usually much more on the good side. They're on the I'm coming in and healing your family, coming to take the curse off the crops, kill the thing in the forest that's hunting you, that sort of thing. And the main character is a trans woman who takes the place for her friend, worried that she won't be accepted biologically being male. Great story about the fact that she is accepted, that is not an issue even after she feels like she has to keep it a secret. She learns of being able to change genders through magic. All of that is perfectly fine. It is a bad book on a fundamental level. Characters remain flat for the entire book, but then all of a sudden have, like, character arcs over 2 pages. It's really, really weird. bully characters are called out directly for being bullies. The lines are so on the nose that I almost feel like I'm reading the like beat sheet of it, the outline, instead of the physical text of the book. There's none of the emotion is successfully happening because everything kind of just happens the way the main character needs it. Gets in trouble, everything goes their way. Someone will come to save them, or some spell will go off, or something will work out. Big villain that is trapping magic in cages and getting people scared. Oh yeah, it's this person we met once. We figured it out. We're all banishing her. Big climactic scenes. Oh wait, here's the answer. Yeah, it wasn't for me. There's a chance I make a review of it because of how frustrating it was. But to do that, I would need to read it again. And I don't know if I can do that. So I put the book at a frustrating 4 out of 10. You know how I said I usually do some good reviewing of my books before I buy them? So I have a sense of what I am buying, and I've usually read the first few pages. I know it's a style I like. It causes for very little faults. I was in a used bookstore that was just trying to give. They had walls and walls of books, and we got to the fiction section, and I was looking for a new book because I was frustrated at the active book I was reading and needed something different because it was while I was traveling and really the only other book I brought. So I got a book called Eternal Life. I'm definitely making a video on this one, but when I say I don't always clock things real easy. And I read the inside of this woman who has been around for 2,000 years. She swore to have an eternal life in order to save her first child, and the father of the child, who never ended up truly being the husband, but the father of the child, he's eternal with her and kind of following her around. And I may have totally missed the fact that this is a heavily religious book. I don't talk much about religion. If something's out there, cool. That's about it. That's the only impact it has on my life. I'm raised atheist. I don't have any deep-seated religious trauma. I went to church one summer to see a friend. I go into them if they're pretty. I avoid them if they're really preachy. I fight with them online if they're truly assholes. There are good churches, there are bad churches. Religion just doesn't have a big factor in my life. This woman and I have very different views on what a woman's role in life is supposed to be. And I was not prepared for that when I started. So this is my first religious text I ever read. It's at the bottom of the list. It just gets God. It doesn't even get a rating because I feel like if I tack a rating to it, people are going to get mad at me. I can't even recommend it as a religious text. It's Zionist throughout the entire thing. But yeah, that is on not reviewing and searching up authors. A video may come out next week about it. I had a conniption the entire time, and there was this urge to DNF it, but oh my god, it was so short. And sometimes it's just good to read things you hate. Okay, now going the other direction of the list. This is 10 through 22, approaching my best book of the year. Are we ready? First book, the 10th book on this list is Flowerheart. Quite honestly, I'll be completely honest. Good to know. I was looking for comps for Those Who Seek Magic, but for Those Who Seek Magic has the complicated nature of being cozy and full of hope in a way that a lot of modern YA aren't, and you can only comp YA in the past 3 to 5 years. So Flowerheart was my solution. It is good. Whole society of witches, and this witch is super, super powerful, but has no control of her magic, and is getting threatened to have her magic sealed, and it becomes this big story of anxiety and how you get over fear of yourself and the darker parts of you. Has great scene near the end, like confronting, basically turns into a conversation between her and her anxiety, and it is beautiful. It's her and her magic, but the magic's an allegory for anxiety, but she's clearly super powerful. It's great. It just doesn't make high on the list because honestly, a lot of the ones higher are older books. I didn't read a lot of books this year. Modern books this year. It got comp worthy out of 10. And with that, you may start to sense a trend. Next up is The Alchemist. This book is from my childhood, and I had the sudden struck with the remembrance that I couldn't remember really how this series ended, but I remembered that like all gods were real and they were just beings that existed in the plane, and I'm pretty sure there's a major betrayal in the end where like the main characters like actually tried to kill the main mentor characters actually tried to kill the main characters, and I think that's great. I'm just rereading the series, but it takes me a bit to read series because committing entire 3 months to a 7-book series is a lot. Above that is the first volume of Magical Girl Incident, where a corporate man in Japan gets a magical girl device and turns into a teenage magical girl, and it is glorious and wonderful. My partner got it, and my partner read it, and then my partner just handed it to me. I had no context going in. I don't know where to get the rest of the series because I have no idea where they buy their manga, because my manga is typically very American popular, and that I've never heard of this series before that. It is a 10 out of 10. Next up, in another recommendation from my partner, they have a lot of books that they want me to read. I have like half of their series now. Oh my god, so many of the books on this list are from them. Counter of how many books are from them. Editing Ella's gonna hate me because I'm adding more work in an already long video. Red Rising. Book fucked me up. I read it during the last semester of college, and I was not prepared for the emotions I would feel about random book characters. I was not prepared for the name drawn out of the hat. If you don't know, basically, the Pierce Brown, the author, had a big climactic scene where like almost all of the main characters were in, and this is right near the end. And he put everyone's name in, I think, except for the main character and characters that were physically not in the scene at the time. And he just drew one out of the hat and killed them. He had planned for this character. It was a great character. What the fuck? It came out of nowhere, and it reminded me that books sometimes are not nice and happy, but it feels good in your soul. And with what 20 for 25 ended up being, that's what I needed. Perfection out of 10. Note that Perfection is only in the middle of the list. Next, A Psalm for the Wild Built. It is such a short little book, but it made me cry. It is about basically people raised robots and used robots to come forward in a lot of like life aspects, and the robots gained sentience, and instead of like fighting the humans, just fucked off into the wilderness, and the humans learned to do things sustainably on their own, and now a human has met up with a robot just for meeting and like both sake, and the wisdom and thought that this little robot has. Toadstool, I think. It made me cry multiple times, and like I literally told my partner, you can't read it. Recommended by my partner. The partner was going through a breakup with their previous partner that I may have totally home record. They don't need to watch this video and hear that. But I said you might want to save this book for a little bit because I think you will break down if you read some of this advice. But read it eventually because you need it. Heart-wrenching out of 10. Which, yes, I would like to say it's better than Perfection. Another recommendation from my partner! The First Sister. This is another on the list of This Fucks You Up. Basically, it is a sci-fi book. This is sci-fi. Red Rising sci-fi too. I do read a handful of sci-fi. I do read a handful of other genres outside of fantasy. While fantasy is my thing and where I'm most comfortable with, I truly do believe that you should read widely and in multi-genre. Note that I don't read any nonfiction to save my life for some reason. Do as I say, not as I do. First Sister is a book where instead of just... You see it so often where, like, the gender and the sex politics of our world are just transported into the new world with, like, no consideration. And people don't generally like that, because why does fantasy need rape just because it happens in our historical past when you can have a fantasy world where you want anything you want? This world, there was a lot of thought put into the systemic control of the women of this series. Their tongues are cut out to be priestesses. Oh yeah, we're going there. And there is an overarching plot. There is queerness. There is an exploration of trans in a way that I never thought I would see. It is a lot of systemic torture and breakdown of a society, and a general sense of fuck capitalism. But space capitalism. If you want to read it, you will feel rage about the system that they have been put through, and that is the point. It is clearly well curated. It isn't just, oh, let's take ours and mash it in. It is, okay, what can sci-fi let me do to expand on the systemic oppression of other people? Ooh. I promise there are some fun books on this list. Not many, but some. 11 out of 10. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. Queer. Body positive. Thievery. And definitely an entire plot for a main character to become a lady-in-waiting mercenary to a very fancy and powerful princess. And queer. Queer. It's great. It's a satirical take on the whole genre, not in a way that satirizes it negatively, but in a way that embraces the humor in a fantasy world and the humor you can build into a fantasy world. There are some great moments. I love the main character. I want to say she's in her 20s, but she may be even older than that, which I like seeing. It's obviously not a YA book, but it fits right in. It's a fun read. It's a quick read. It's lovely, and I don't think it has a series, which means it's a standalone, which I can use. I've started so many series. 11 out of 10. Another one that's gonna fuck you up, but it's my suggestion this time instead of my partner's. Hell Followed With Us. A queer apocalypse where a trans guy is forced to become an Armageddon for a religious cult because he has almost been given angelic twisted in a way. It is great. It is great. It will fuck you up. It'll fuck you up so bad. This is Be Gay, Do Crimes. This is full on queer doesn't have to mean perfect. Queer doesn't have to mean we're good. Queer can be any type of character. And I love when we see that. It's gritty. It's dark. It's gory as fuck. Like, so much flesh. But it's worth it. It's so worth it. 100 out of 10. I feel like it is important to say that we are officially in my top 5. Next is The Sunbearer Trials, in which I'm on a personal mission to murder this author because I was not prepared. So often, I am used to traditional publishing, where traditional publishing means the first book has to be standalone in case things happen. So I'm so used to being able to read these first books without being left at a cliffhanger at the end. I mean, there's obviously threads. Red Rising isn't over. You can see the fight is going to continue. You can want to see more of the characters, but like, it ends in a solid place. So if it takes you a minute to get to the next book, it's okay. That ending barrels to you fast and hard and oh my god will knock you over, but it's good. Just maybe get the second one at the same time. Because that one fucked me up. But it is basically pure fantasy with gods and demigods, except for social media and the world exists, and there's like it's a high fantasy. It's not our world with social media. It's like an entire fantasy world that has been built around the idea that this like sacrifice to the gods above happens, and it's televised now, and there's like trading cards about it. It's great. It gets out of 10. This next one, I've picked up some weird books in the past. This one may be the weirdest. I don't know what I read, but I do know that with 200 pages left, I stayed up way too late to finish it because something connected with me. It's called Dead Astronauts. Do not go into it expecting this to be a normal book. It is told through a series of different worlds, and the main characters aren't even really characters. They can come and go. It does fuckery with timelines, but the main idea is corporations fucking suck, and here is how we stop it, even if that takes time and time and time again. Because the people will always rise. I really want to give nothing else. I recommend it for anyone who's ready for a tripped up time, but if you're like not in the right headspace, be cautious and know that it is a literary novel and know that I can provide no answers for what it is. Fuck me out of 10. Not sexually, y'all. Top 3. You should know, I don't think it's been obvious throughout this. This is not necessarily books that come out in 2025. This is when I read them. So I'm like aware that The Poppy War has been out for a while from R.F. Kuang. This is another partner recommendation. I don't know why, but I somehow got the misconception that this was a young adult book. And I'm not saying young adult can't do certain things. Really, anything can be classified as a young adult. However, usually there are limits on descriptions and shit it's going to show you. And I was very quickly informed through the bloodshed, murder, and like systemic power shown, and like genocide and shit, that this was not a YA book. It's also going to take me a second to read the second one because I needed a minute, but it's so good. It is. I don't know what I can say that no one else has ever said. It is about basically the first 2/3 is not even really magic based. First 2/3 is setting up a war, and then you get into these people who have these powers but are losing their mind because of they basically ascended up the steps to speak to gods. They did not become gods, but they got a taste of the power, which is really dangerous in a human body. And she's not scared to show you how dangerous. When I tell you, it fucked me up. Highly recommend though. Not YA out of 10. In number 2, I mentioned it earlier. We have Mistborn. I have never read Brandon Sanderson, so this is under recommendation from my partner. I was always really nervous because honestly, I know Brandon Sanderson is like supposed to be a king of fantasy. This is not an insult to Brandon Sanderson. This was out of the fear that I would read one of his books and then suddenly it would be the year of Sanderson, and that would be all I read for the next year and a half. Because he's got some large books and he's got long series, and I was so worried, and I kind of fucked myself with Mistborn because oh my god, it's so good. It is classic fantasy blended with politics and like magic in a way that you don't usually see. It's like, oh, the classic fantasy of having classes of different types of magic, and then the Mistborn who are, the best type of magic because they can do all of it. But then also there's like an evil overlord, but he's also politically done, where there are like mass murders in the streets, and he's not far away like a lot of, evil overlords that are in that mountain far way up off. Looking at you, Lord of the Rings. He's right there, being evil. It's such an interesting world, and I swear, the ending, I texted my partner, like, play by play, when I got to the last maybe 100 pages. I swear, they were asleep. They were asleep, but then they killed a character I wasn't expecting them to kill. And the wall of text they got. They apparently appreciated it when they woke up. Mistborn gets I Feel Things Again out of 10. And topping my chart for all of 2025 is Moonwitch Spider King by Marlon James. This is the sequel to Black Leopard Red Wolf that I read last year, which got about a 9.8. You should note that I judged books more harshly last year. I really leaned into this year the fact that I just enjoy books and I'm allowed to enjoy books. Black Leopard Red Wolf is good. It is a complicated fantasy based in the African diaspora, and I had no touchstones going in for African myth, and it kind of just beats you over the head with this creative world that I fell in love with. You learn straight up from the beginning that the narrator is not a reliable one. Tracker is complicated. He straight up lies about things, he omits things, he will tell you stories in the early chapters that he then retells later, and they're different. And Moonwitch Spider King is the sequel, where you actually get a lot of the same story with the perspective of one of the characters that Tracker hated, Solagon, the Moon Witch. The fact that a man wrote this woman is utterly baffling. I have never felt so seen as a woman and as this, like, fully thought and developed nation feelings that you get targeted with, and how you overcome, and how you can sometimes just overcome with an amount of blistering hot rage. And yet at the same time, you can change lives and touch people that you would never understand. This is not a recommendation for the faint of heart. This book, neither of these books really delve into the romance, but there is a lot of sex, there's a lot of rape. It's straight up shown. It's not treated as romantic, it's not treated as bad, it's just treated as this is how it is. To me, it was really easy to read because none of the characters really threw romance into it. It's very strange to how to explain it, but it's kind of just, we're fucking now. Oops, we fucked. And to me, that flowed in with, like, oh, we're murdering people now. Oops, we murdered. Then there's like, oh no, I befriended this person. I'm not supposed to have friends. And it is a wonderful book. I don't want to spoil too much. Just get into the series and then sit with me and cry that the third book hasn't fucking come out yet. I've gotten everyone around me into Moonwitch Spider King. I tried to get my grandmother into Moonwitch Spider King and was only stopped by my aunt mentioning that direct mentions of fuck might be too much. And honestly, if it's not too much, I don't want to know. Anyway, woman out of 10. And that is my list of books. Those are the good, the bad, the ugly. I hope to read more in 2026, but mostly I just hope to enjoy and hopefully maybe share my book with you. I'm sharing one of them on Patreon right now. The first chapter is out for free. I believe I am going to put the next 2 chapters out for free, and then it is the $5 for Patreon a month. Gotta make money somehow. We live in a capitalistic hellscape, and while a lot of these books teach us to overcome them, we haven't yet. But thank you for the year I have had. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a big channel. I have 42 subscribers, but that's more than I expected, and I've enjoyed this more than I could have ever dreamed. So, thank you for sticking around. Regardless of if you just watch quietly or if you're commenting always. I seriously appreciate it. because always remember that writing is difficult. And daring to continue past the first page is brave, especially the way the world is right now. I want to form community with you because I know that anyone can write, and each and every one of you have a story. Thanks.